Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. This is Green Chat. I am Stephanie Gluchacki, and I'm happy to come to you today with Deb Tunge from our Relaxed Clarity Colorado Clinic. Deb, why don't you give a little shout out to our community here?
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Excellent. Thanks for joining me here today, Deb. Certainly really exciting to be broadcasting live to the Colorado community. This is certainly a really exciting state, particularly from the perspective of the cannabis industry and the medical cannabis program that the state offers. So for those of you tuning in from our Relaxed Clarity community, and for those who are joining from our other Facebook pages and CannaCare docs and Medival clinics, hello. Thank you for kind of tuning in live here with us today. For those of you who may be joining after the fact, just a big hello to you as well. So today we're going to be talking about Colorado, COVID, cannabis, the program itself, and basically some of the changes that have happened as a result of COVID, some of the protocols and workflows that have had to been changed as a result. And more importantly, we're going to take a really deep dive into the actual program itself with Deb, who happens to be what I consider an expert amongst the Colorado industry. So Deb, if you wouldn't mind, would you just share a little bit about your background and your history?
Of course. So, hi. I previously worked for the state health department for 20 years. I worked in surveillance at first, and then when the voters approved medical marijuana in Colorado of 2000, I was kind of behind the scenes helping the administrator with processes and getting the program up and running for patients. I was, pretty far outside, and the administrator at that time, currently ran the program for 2 years and then just passed the whole thing on to me. And I kind of was like kicked out of the nest pretty fast and put on the phone and processing applications and helping patients. And so at that time, the registry was a whopping 300 patients. And
a little different than it is today.
Yeah, and it was pretty easy for one person to manage and still do other activities at the health department. So I still worked in surveillance, and I also did some work with work-related deaths. So I did a lot, and but as the program started to grow, I had to kind of start taking on some help. So when I took on a temporary staff member in 2007. So from 2003 to 2007, it was just me. I did everything. I did all of the oral presentations to physicians and police officers, explaining the program and explaining how officers would verify someone's medical card, explaining how to physicians, what their legal protections were for signing for patients, for making this recommendation for them to get their medical card in the state of Colorado, and explaining to them how they wouldn't lose their medical license for signing up a patient for medical marijuana. And I also represented the state in court. So I've been to several court cases, been on the witness stand for hours.
Oh gosh.
So that was a little intense, but I, made it through it. And we had set a limit of the number of caregivers a patient could have in Colorado to 5. And back in the early stages when the program was tiny, that didn't seem like a big limit. But in 2009, the patients kind of stood up and said, "Look, we want caregivers to be able to help more of us instead of just being limited to 5 patients." They took it to the Board of Health. That meeting held 800 patients.
Wow.
And it lasted 12 hours with only one break.
Oh my gosh.
And the patients got their point across to the Board of Health that they would not stand for a limit of 5 caregivers per patient. So, 5, I said that backwards, 5 patients
per caregiver. Yes. So they raised their voices. So, that's great.
Yes. And so the board said, okay, no limit. Well, within months, dispensaries just started popping up. And of course, if the dispensaries are opening, more and more people are hearing about marijuana, for the first time for some of them, even though the program had been live since 2001.
Right.
And the number of applicants went from 2,000 applicants a month to 2,000 applicants per day.
Oh my gosh.
And with just me plus one, there was no way we could process all of those applications by ourselves.
Oh my goodness. Even with 24 hours in the day, I can see how that would be virtually impossible.
Yeah,
sure.
Yes. So everyone stepped in with vital records, that would help with birth and death certificates. They stepped in and started helping process medical marijuana registry applications. And, we tried to keep afloat, but the demand was just too great and we couldn't do it. We begged the legislature for help. They let us hire 5 temps, which really didn't make a dent, but it was a start. And within a year, we were able to get 35 full-time FTE granted by the state legislature for the program.
Impressive.
Yeah, it was huge. And so, of course, then we also had to have a place to put them. So they built us this big office. And, it was insane how fast everything was changing and happening. And so yes, with 35 people in a big office, we were able to, I think it took us 9 months to get caught up on all those applications that had come in that November and December of 2009 to get those processed. So some patients, bless their hearts, had to wait 9 months for their card. And believe it or not, now the state has this amazing online system for patients, so they don't have to wait weeks or months for their card. They can do it all online.
Okay.
And the state processes those within 3 business days. And some patients even think that that's too long. So,
that is a stark difference from having to wait 9 months. I'd say that's much improved.
No.
Wow.
Right? So, but yeah, it was crazy and I loved it, but in the end, to be completely honest, it just became way too stressful for me. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just about to commend you on being part of the initial fabric. You're an OG, Deb. You were there when the Colorado industry was quite nascent, and here you are now, and we're very fortunate to have you in our Relax Clarity clinics. So would you share a little bit briefly about what you do there?
Sure. So presently I am running the call center for Relax Clarity, but I've done all the same jobs as the other staff in the office have done, and they've also helped with they also have done phones. So we all work together as a team when we had our phone center in the office. It's just changed a bit now that we're doing the telemedicine because of the COVID-19.
Sure. That's actually a great segue. COVID has actually impacted not only our Relax Clarity clinical operation, certainly, but across all of our clinical divisions. We wanted to ensure safety for patients. So thankfully, the governor initiated the ability to offer telemedicine to patients. So we had to very quickly scramble and really put together a HIPAA-compliant protocol in order to be able to offer the same kind of care to patients that we normally do in clinic, but now do so remotely. So kudos to all of the team. I'm going to send a shout out to Lance Bender, our director of operations, who is based out of Colorado. He's certainly provided an amazing amount of leadership to make sure that happened seamlessly for patients. And of course, all of the team in Colorado, thank you for all of your amazing work to make sure that same level of service was provided. So I will give a quick just update. Colorado, any residents in Colorado just looking for some resources with respect to COVID. Obviously right now, many states are in the process of going through different phases of reopening. So there is a COVID resource. It's covid19.colorado.gov. Which provides resources and guidance on the evolving landscape. So we'll put that up in the comments section for you. Becky, I think, is my trusted assistant today behind the scenes. Becky, if you don't mind adding that to the comments section, that would be appreciated. So I just gave a few shout outs certainly to our team in Colorado. And COVID certainly required the shifting of operations for not only our own business, but for dispensaries in Colorado as well. So I just want to give a couple of shout outs to some dispensaries. While certainly there are so very many, we want to recognize a few that really went above and beyond to coordinate the on-site printing of cards for patients, or really just structuring their protocols to ensure safety in the midst of COVID. So I want to give a big shout out to Boulder Wellness Center. Gil and Jeff, thank you for all that you do. They're located on Arapahoe Ave in Boulder, Colorado. Everbloom, which has 3 locations, one of course right here in Denver. So shout out to you guys. Steel City Meds in Pueblo. Congratulations on all you did for patients and continue to do for patients throughout the ever-changing landscape that is COVID, and Rocky Farms in Rocky Ford, Colorado. So again, those are just a very small number of dispensaries that we feel really went above and beyond. Shout outs. If you ever have a shout out, if you as a patient had a really great experience and you want someone to know about that, you want your fellow Facebook community to know that, you want other patients to know about that, let us know. Email us at shoutout, SHOUTOUT, at cannacaredocs.com. Becky, if you don't mind throwing in the comments as well, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, let us know. We want to hear it. And we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that on our next segment of Green Chat. If there's something important that's happening, if you're a dispensary and one of your dispensary workers is having a birthday, or again, if you're a patient that has a really amazing experience or want to share something really good, let us know, because we want to make sure that the community hears about that as well. All right, now we're gonna pick Deb's brain here for the meat and potatoes of our segment today, because again, you can clearly hear based on her background, she has a lot of experience. She's a wealth of knowledge for the Colorado cannabis program and industry in and of itself. So I just want to talk a little bit about this, and Deb, you and I can just kind of banter back and forth, but I'm really going to lean on you as the expert with respect to the Colorado program. So it's my understanding that Colorado is the only state with medical marijuana laws built into its constitution. I found that very fascinating.
Right. So the way they wrote the law, it's part of the Constitution, which is, like you said, very unique. I think we're the only state that has that built into our Constitution. So it protects the program from just being wiped away easily. The voters would have to vote again to make the medical marijuana program go away. So it's really locked tightly in that Constitution, and I don't see it going anywhere.
That's fantastic.
It's safe.
That's great. That's absolutely great. And that is definitely the voice of the patients. Really, they fought hard to get these laws enacted, and to know that there are some protections surrounding their decisions, their choices. That's really remarkable. So kudos to Colorado for structuring the program in that way. As I went through, of course, each state is so very different. So for those of you from other states who are watching us live today or after the fact, I'd love to share, or have Deb share, some of the unique situations surrounding the Colorado program. And for those of you who are Colorado residents who may be looking to become patients, by all means, now's your time to really listen in, because Deb's going to share some information that's going to be very beneficial and helpful to you as a potential patient. So Deb, I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's talk about some of the nuances of residency requirements, some of the challenges surrounding that, and how you yourself help patients navigate that.
Okay. So all patients in Colorado must be residents. The easiest way for them to prove residency is with a Colorado driver's license or Colorado ID. But our state is growing so quickly that we're getting all sorts of people coming from around the country that don't have a Colorado ID yet. And with the DMV not being open because of COVID, they're even more challenged to get that ID.
Sure.
So the state does offer a waiver for patients signing up their first year to be a Colorado medical marijuana patient. Their waiver is very strict. If they don't have Colorado ID, they can use their out-of-state ID. They can use a passport and a social security card. They would want two items, and they have like a really short list of things that they would take. Other things on that list include like a tribal ID, military ID. but mostly patients will use their out-of-state ID and their Social Security card to prove identity. Then they have to prove residency to the state, and the state has a very short list for that.
Okay.
And it's 6 items, and the patients have to have 2 of those items to prove residency. The first one is Colorado Motor Vehicle Registration,
Okay.
Colorado Voter Registration, a certified copy of a Colorado tax return, which has to be requested from the Colorado Department of Revenue. And unfortunately, we do have a lot of patients that don't file taxes because they're disabled, so they don't have to. So, they won't be able to use that for for proof of residency.
So it limits the ability to have proof of residency even further. I'm sorry, go on.
Right. Then there's a current Colorado W-2, a current Colorado paycheck stub, and then a government-issued benefits letter to a Colorado address.
Okay.
So the patient would have to have 2 of those items off that list. And again, a lot of those items are things that you wouldn't have unless you've been in Colorado for 3 months.
Right.
Or a year. And so we all of us at Relaxed Clarity help patients through this process. For first getting, proving their residency in Colorado, and then they have to next have one of the qualifying conditions to get the card.
Okay.
The state now has 10 conditions, but they first start out with just 8. And so they were cancer, glaucoma, HIV or AIDS positive, cachexia, severe pain, severe nausea, muscle spasms, seizures. And then just recently, within the last couple of years, they've added post-traumatic stress disorder and autism spectrum disorder. So the patient would have been diagnosed with one of those conditions or a condition that causes one of those conditions.
Okay, so very specific. But again, just to recap, Relaxed Clarity, the team at Relaxed Clarity helps walk patients through this process. Obviously, for you and I, we understand the process, but I would presume for patients or potential patients listening in for the first time, it might sound quite daunting. So by all means, to those of you who may be considering the program, reach out to us, relaxedclarity.com, or you can phone, and you'll likely speak with the lovely Deb here at 970-412-5955, and we'll post those in the comments as well. But Deb, it certainly sounds like your experience will help make the process very, very simple for a patient. You'll do the heavy lifting.
We do. We help our patients through the whole process. A lot of our patients don't have computers, and then some that are in the really rural areas don't even have internet access. So we have the computers with us, and right now with the telemedicine, we're still able to help our patients, even though it's not face-to-face, but we're doing it on the phone and using our home computers to get them through that registration.
Perfect. So it's nice to know that we've kind of expanded our operations almost to employee-wide operations, so a bunch of little clinics all over the state. Let's talk a little bit about some of the ancillary services that are offered through Relaxed Clarity. There are a few, and I know some would be of interest. If you don't mind, just go ahead and share that.
Sure. So for our patients that have gotten their medical card through us, we do offer emotional support animal certification. We do have patients that, along with their medical condition, have a need for an emotional support animal. And again, that's been something that's, I think, pretty popular nationwide as far as people wanting to take their, relieve their stress by taking their pet with them everywhere they go. And so we provide that service to our patients. It's pretty low cost. It's $120, and they get a certificate, they get a vest for their pet, and then they can take their pet anywhere.
Okay.
We also do probation letters for patients on probation. It's one of the things that Colorado law allows now, which is also something that's changed within the last couple of years. It allows patients that are on probation to use medical marijuana if they are, if they have their medical card.
Okay.
And so we help patients on probation with that process as well. Some of those patients need a special letter for court. to go along with their provider certification that the doctor issues and along with their card. And so we provide that service as well.
That's really interesting, Deb, because patients who are on probation should not be denied access to medicine, and cannabis certainly is a medicine. So it's wonderful that Colorado recognizes that and provides an avenue to continue to allow patients who are in fact on probation for whatever circumstances, obviously with some exceptions, to be able to continue to use and access their medicine. So that's great.
Right. So another service that we offer for patients that are new to marijuana, don't know where to begin, are kind of nervous about it, is a process that we call dose finding. So it's a special appointment with the patient and the physician, where the physician goes into more depth with the patient regarding the use of marijuana, safe practices that the patient can take based on their specific medical condition. They'll go into specific dosing with the patient as far as, how to start and, where to begin with it, how to even go shop for it, and, what kind of things to look for, so that they're not, walking blind into the dispensary going, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I don't know what to get, and, instead they're armed with that information. So when they go into the dispensary, they'll know what they're looking for, they'll know what to get, and they'll know how to start safely and use it safely. And then with dose finding, they also get follow-up appointments with the doctor to see how they're doing, see how their progress is going, and see if they need to adjust the tincture or something like that to, help the patient more.
That's an excellent service. It's, unlike a traditional prescription, if you will, where a physician writes out a specific product with a specific dosing. You go to your pharmacist and you have that filled. With cannabis as medicine, you really are reliant upon your clinician, your own self-titrations, your own guidance combined with your clinician's assistance to be able to really find what works for you and what will be safest for you. So that's a great point that you bring up with regard to safety. Safety and efficacy are certainly two very critical points when you're looking at cannabis. You want to understand if you're presenting with a condition, you need to know or need to understand where to start to get a particular strain or a particular product that's going to best align with your healthcare goals. That is definitely important. So thank you for commenting on that.
Sure.
I'm sorry, did you have something, Deb? I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, I was just going to talk about the next service.
Yeah, please, go right ahead. I was going to lead you into that. Go right ahead.
Okay. So we also offer extended plant counts for patients that want to grow their own plants or possibly make their own tinctures, their own edibles. And so that is another service that we provide. And that also allows patients that if they don't want to grow the plants, they can purchase a higher number of flower or of tinctures or edibles at the dispensary at a time. They're not limited to just the 2 ounces or the, equivalent of that in edible form or tincture form.
Okay. And that process, is that something that a patient would need to seek a different appointment with a doctor for? Explain that process a little bit, just so our patients understand.
Sure. So for extended plant count appointments, they do need to call in to make that appointment. Right now with the telemedicine, we just have one doctor that's doing it. But when our offices do open back up, if they want an appointment in person, we do have a number of doctors that do the extended plant counts. And but yeah, they're not in every day of the week. We do have office hours every day of the week, but we don't always have an extended plant count doctor available every single day.
So it's advised to book an appointment for that specific. Okay,
right.
That is a great service. I would presume that some patients with really specific illnesses would require, I would imagine a cancer patient, for example, would require a much higher level of plants or plant material in order to make, say, an oil in order to accommodate the pain levels that they may be feeling or whatnot.
Right. And then there are some patients that definitely don't want to smoke marijuana, but they're comfortable with doing the edibles or with doing the drops or, using marijuana butter or something like that.
Sure. Sure, that's very important. So it's really interesting to hear, and I'm hoping that our patients are kind of having an aha moment to know that these additional services are available through our Relaxed Clarity clinics. Again, just to quickly recap, in addition to the certifications for entrance into the state's cannabis program, there are emotional service animal certificates that can be those appointments can be booked. Probation letters for those patients who may be on probation needing to be able to continue to utilize their cannabis medicine or access their cannabis medicine, so that is a service. Dose finding, that one I find particularly important because of the fact that, again, for those patients entering the program for the very first time, you need some sort of a plan. You need a treatment plan to be able to start to work toward achieving your healthcare goals. So that's fantastic. And then the extended plant counts, by all means. And just a reminder again, please make sure you call and book ahead and call for your appointment to make sure that you're actually being connected with the doctor who will actually be able to work with you and have the discussions appropriate for those extended plant counts. Deb, you have a couple minutes here. Is there anything other than what we've talked about that you wanted to discuss? Go right ahead.
Yes. One more thing, we do have doctors that see minor children here. And so minors in Colorado have to have two separate providers approve them for medical marijuana. And with our team of doctors, we can easily handle both of those appointments for those patients. Their parents would need to be the residents of Colorado. And again, we would walk them through the whole process of meeting all of the requirements that the state has for their child to get their medical card.
Okay, that's certainly good to know. I would imagine not many people would be aware of that. So thank you for sharing that. Resources. Deb, there's certainly many places patients can go for resources. They can certainly visit the relaxedclarity.com website. They can phone 970-412-5955. Of course, there are other resources such as Leafly, Weed Maps. Visit your and I won't read this whole URL out loud, but the Colorado.gov site does have a list of licensed facilities. So that's a resource for you as well if you're looking to access a specific dispensary close to your location. Other than that, I think it's just amazing to continue to shout the message that even with Colorado's program being as mature as it is, there are still patients who may not know about the program itself. They may not know about the services that Relaxed Clarity has to offer. So it's really great that we're having these conversations and bringing this information to patients. Deb, any quick wrap-ups on your end? Or if not, we'll go right into our thank yous.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're coming upon the end of our segment. Really exciting to be filled with so much content today. I think that was absolutely great. Glad to be able to join you in the Mile High City here today. So our thank yous. Deb Tungi, thank you so much for joining me here today. It was really, really just great to have your experience and knowledge shared with me, with the Facebook community. I hope that our Colorado patients and our Colorado community found your information to be very valuable. I know certainly I do. And I hope that those of you watching from other states found it fascinating to see how it compares to your own state's program. So I know that's a conversation that comes up often with people who are in different states and how their own state's program compares as far as even the qualifying conditions or the methods of how you go through the process. So that's very interesting. Certainly, again, thank you to Relaxed Clarity, the whole team there. Each of you work so very hard, led by Lance Bender, our Director of Operations out there. We're very thrilled and proud to have the team that we do there. Working so hard to deliver such an exceptional level of service to patients. So I want to share, I've visited our Colorado offices, and certainly Colorado in and of itself is gorgeous, but our offices, when you walk in, they're just filled with just compassion. Everyone who's working there is really there to look to help you. So just keep that in mind. Following up with the rest of the thank yous again for those of you on our CannaCare Docs pages watching or hosting a watch party. Thank you to you as well. Certainly the team as an organization of CB2 Insights, our parent company, just really comes together to make this what it is and really serve our patients to the level that we do. We're really excited to bring that to you. Jean St. Pierre, of course, and Eric B. Media, thank you both so much for everything that you do to be able to bring this organization, this setup here to our patients to make it more interesting and exciting for you. And lastly, and certainly so importantly, thank you to you as our patients. Thank you to you as our potential patients. We are here for you. We are really excited to be able to continue to improve upon our services, to make our offerings to you and really help you on your healthcare journeys. So thank you very much. We certainly hope you stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you really soon in our clinics. Deb, thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.